Hi, Bracha. How you doing? Just get my face out of there. Welcome to Zero to Pro. Great to have you on board. You've made an amazing decision to join our course. I mean, I am biased, but I'll just give you my basic introduction. Is that when we set about building this course a couple of years ago, we were converting our previously successful physical photography course that had been going for 8 years or so into this online experience. And I had this like nagging voice in the back of my head saying, like, Shmuel, how can it be? There's no way that an online course could be as good as a physical course. But anyway, we pushed forward and we invested loads of time and energy and money. And I am so happy to say that I was so wrong, and that the results of this course have just been breathtaking. We could never have imagined the success of this course. It basically means that if you stick it out and get through all 7 classes, we do have students who don't make it through, who flake out for whatever reasons, and I beg of you, please don't be one of them. If you do make it through to the 7 courses, and it's not such a big commitment and it's not such a massive investment of time or even energy, you will be at a professional level, Bezrat Hashem. It's been like basically 100% success rate. The success has been based on a lot of things, but a lot of it is to do with this critiquing that I give to each week. In the physical class, my students were getting between like 2 and 5 minutes of my time. And in the digital class, students are getting between 10 and 20 minutes of my time. So, that said, there's 3 pillars to our course. 3 things that we need you to take care of each week. Number 1, obviously, is watch the classes. Number 2 is do the homework. And number 3 is do the photo shoot. Watching the classes gets the information into your head. Doing the homework is designed to get the information into your heart, means that you understand it. And the real magic takes place in the photo shoot. The photo shoot is designed to get the information into your hands. Photography is a skill, it's an art, and it's a craft. And as such, it needs to get into your hands. Okay? And there is no shortcut to getting a skill into your hands. The only way of doing it is that scary P word that people start to contort over, which I've actually grown to love over the years, is the word practice. There is no shortcut, I promise you. This course is as close as it gets to a shortcut, but we need you to practice. There has to be practice, and more practice, okay? And that is it's that practice that causes the magic to take place, and that the skill becomes one with you, and you start to be an amazing photographer. You could sit there watching these classes from now for the next 3 years on repeat, and just have somebody bring your food to you the whole time, and you will not become a better photographer. Okay, becoming a better photographer is dependent on the practice. So that said, give us everything you've got. We're going to give you everything that we've got, and please God, you'll be successful. In regards to the photo shoot, we do recommend a 45-minute shoot. Now that actually means we actually recommend a 45-minute shoot. What we suggest is put your phone on silent and put your stopwatch or timer or alarm, whatever, for 45 minutes. Go out and take pictures of... Don't take pictures of babies, and I don't know if you've got your own kids. I don't know where you're holding, who you are, whatever. But taking pictures of your own kids is also not usually such a good idea. But taking pictures of girls from the age of 6+ is great. Start off the first few classes, start taking pictures of one child, and as you progress, throw in a couple more children, and by the end of it, maybe even try with the family or something. But don't bite off too much. Don't bite off more than you can chew at the beginning. By the way, excuse my nasal. I've got a cold, so excuse that. What's going to happen after 3 or 4 minutes is what's called photographer's block. Okay, that basically looks like this. Okay, I don't know what to do next. Okay, bust through that. Go to a new location, get your subject to stand up, to sit down, to spin around, to jump up and down, to climb up a tree. You climb up a tree, put them in a bush, go to a different place, etc., etc. Whatever it is, if you can break through that thing called photographer's block, and it will come a lot, okay, that is the quickest, most effective way of climbing up that ladder to become a successful professional photographer. Okay, that said, let's get in. Okay, so this is your triangle picture. which is fine. Excuse me. I think if I were you, what I would have done was taken out this book and put this book over here, and that would have been a slightly tighter triangle. As it is, it's a bit kind of like a quarter circle kind of thing, but it's still okay. So well done there. There are three primary shapes: circles, squares, and triangles. Circles are passive, triangles are dynamic, squares are somewhere in the middle. So whenever you have triangles in your image, there's going to be some kind of dynamic feel. So we'll see that in a minute with depth and perspective. Let's move on. This is great. That's a great texture. It's a soft texture, but it has got an element of, it has got an element of energy in that picture because of the hard lines. But generally, it's a soft texture. And that is also a great texture. It's like mashed potato. So that's also a soft, gentle, relaxed texture. Well done. Very, very good. Okay. Excellent. That's fantastic. That is fantastic. That's a great example of a pattern. And that is also pattern-esque, but it's also, I think, textury as well. A lot to do with texture. Oh, I didn't answer your question that you wrote here. I cannot figure out to zoom my Canon EF lens 50mm. Please clarify. There is no zoom on this lens. I always joke that the zoom on this lens is your legs. You either walk in or walk out. And I know that at night now you're like, Diamond, how can you tell me to import this lens? It's not a zoom. Relax. It's fine. It's the benefits of this lens over a zoom lens are amazing. And you're not going to appreciate this yet, and it's going to take another couple of weeks for you to really see how amazing this lens is. But I guarantee you, you will thank me very much for buying this lens. But there are going to be cases when it's not going to be, when it's going to be a little impractical. There's a few homeworks, that we ask of you to do that are going to be a little more difficult with this lens. But overall, it's a no-brainer. This lens is much, much better for reasons that will really come clear in class 4. But in the meantime, hold on. And in regards to zooming, just remember that the zoom is in your legs. Okay. Depth, perspective. So this is really what I was looking for. This is, I suppose what you're trying to get at is the fact that the door is here and then we've got depth going back into the room. So I appreciate that. But this is really what I was wanting us to deal with here, which is this idea of disappearing lines, which basically creates a vanishing point. And the key, this is really well done. The thing to remember here is that these images graphically are based on triangles. Okay, any disappearing, any vanishing point images or depth perspective images are always based on triangles, which means whenever you have an image with this kind of vanishing point going on in it, it's going to have an element of energy and a dynamic feel to it. So that's really well done. Excellent. Okay, onward and upward. This is great. Excellent. Really well done. Got lovely movement coming in this direction. In regards to bounce, I might be tempted to just crop a little bit off the edge over here, just think that would make it a little bit tighter. But otherwise, really, really well done. Good display. You are displaying good natural sensitivities to the image, which is really exciting. That's really well done. Excellent. Okay, and now we are in our photo shoots. Let me just flick through. Is there anything that I can say overall? I mean, one word springs to mind. 2 words. Very good. There's nothing particular overall that I can say. One thing that I do want you to do is stop using the flash. So you are shooting in program, and I'm assuming that it's making the flash go. I'm not sure exactly why the flash is going. Maybe you push the flash itself. I also saw this picture, the flash went as well. Please try not to use your flash. Using flash right now would be compared to running before you can crawl. First we need to learn how to crawl and to sit and to walk. And then we'll teach you how to run. That will be at a later date with the flash. We have another course after that for flash. But to master Flash, there's a lot to accomplish firsthand. So try and cut out Flash. Otherwise, this is really beautiful. I think we can crop out a little bit of the white here, remembering always to crop in close. We'll learn about that in the next class. But you've nailed the focus here. You've got a lot of energy. It's a gorgeous smile. I like the way the light's coming from the background, and I love the framing that you've done here with the fence. Really well done. I also like the juxtaposition of these hard straight lines with this big circle of the hood of her face, echoed by her face itself. So that's wonderful. Well done. Well done, Bracha. Okay, so this is similar to your balanced picture. Again, you've done really well. I feel that she's in the exact right place. I just think there's a little too much picture going on, without which we could do, which we don't really need. So I think that picture is a stronger image. Let's think about it. How beautiful is she? She's beautiful, yeah? She's really interesting and attractive. As in attractive, like she pulls the eye. And she's cute and all the nice things. And the rest of all this is like, it's nice, but let's crop in, because let's really try and make the most out of our subject here. So turn her from being, let's say at this point she's 8% of the frame, to being something like 20% or 15% of the frame. And now that just raises up the levels of the picture all in all. So that's very well done. Okay, this is cute. It's a lovely pose. The issue is the light on her face. We're not going to be able to explain why that happened right now. That's a bit too involved. But I do appreciate what went right, and what went wrong is actually means the picture's not really worth much at all. But we can fix that later once you've learned a little bit more. But as that is, the actual what you did right was very good. The pose is nice. The way you've used this fence post is also well done. Just that it's overexposed, which is something we'll teach you about over the next couple of weeks. Okay, again another nice picture, really nicely posed. You're really using these natural, you're using nature in its at its best. You're really making use of it for posing stools. Again, I would look at the direction is coming this way, so let's give some more space over here and crop in off that way. So I'm tempted to crop in something like this. Maybe a little bit more, something like that. So I think that's really well done. And finally, this is cute. It's a cute picture. It's difficult to get these kinds of shots, to get them to look good. A lot of the ones you see online with like bubbles and things like that have usually been done in post. But you've done really well. It's a good attempt. A lot of energy here. Excuse me. I think one thing that might add a little bit is if we cropped it in again and gave us some more room upwards, because we actually have a lot of energy moving up in this picture. So it might make sense to give us some more room at the top, which means cropping off as we did. When you crop off at the bottom, it potentially gives more room at the top. So well done. Let's take this picture into Lightroom. Okay, so now as we said, we're here to teach you photography, and we have to remember that we're in 2020, nearly another couple of days. That means there is no such thing as photography without post-processing. Okay, so part of our goal is not just to teach you photography, but it's also to teach you editing in Lightroom. Now, the workshop, the Lightroom workshop, is in another couple of weeks after class 2. So until then, basically each week I'm going to be taking one of your images into Lightroom and editing it. I want you to, right now I'm assuming you have no experience with Lightroom, so it is going to feel a little bit overwhelming, but please don't worry about that. Just watch and don't think too much. I just want you to see what Lightroom is about. Once you've done the workshop after class 2, everything's going to start making sense. But in the meantime, just watch and enjoy. Now, the keys to post-processing, as I give it over, is 2 primary keys. Okay, number 1 is called emphasize the subject, and number 2 is called go further. Okay, emphasizing the subject means number 1, they've got 2 options. Number 1 is emphasizing the subject, obviously, or number 2 is de-emphasizing everything else. They both have the same effect. That's number 1. Number 2 is called going further. What going further is about is working out, is this image a passive image or a dynamic image? If it's a passive image, go further and make it more passive. If it's a dynamic image, go further and make it more dynamic. So I'm looking at this image. It's definitely a passive image. So I want to soften things a little bit. I'm going to go to my clarity tool. I'm just going to soften things a teeny drop and drop the texture down as well a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to emphasize my subject by just brightening her up a little bit and adding a bit of vibrance, I think. So I'm going to go to my exposure, brighten that up. The shadows will raise up her top there, her jacket, and then a little bit of clarity. There we go, that's looking good. Now what I want to do to the background, I'm going to use my radial tool, which means it's going to put an effect everywhere outside of this circle. If you look, I hover over it. So everywhere where that red is going to be my effect. For example, if I drop the exposure down or up, you can see that it's just happening in that affected area. So I want to drop the clarity down, soften things up a little bit. And I think I'm also going to darken things a little bit as well. A little bit. Soften things a drop more. And now I really want to put in a warm color cast. So I'm going to do something like this, around the 30s, which is what I nearly always do. Drop down to 0, and now raise up just slightly. Just slightly. There we go. Okay, now there's 2 more steps that I want to do in this picture. Number 1 is I want to put a vignette, which means to darken the edges of the frame slightly. And now the final part, which is going to make all the difference, is one of my favourite things to do, which is what I call a radial sunburst. So now again, it's using this radial tool, but this time, instead of putting the effect on the outside, I'm going to invert, which means the effect is going to be on the inside, and I'm going to make it look like the sun is streaming through this gap in the trees, like that. It's a little too hard, a little too bright, so we can drop that down a little bit, just like that, and I think we're going to feather it a little bit more. Maybe stretch out and drop more like that. Okay, I'm just going to erase that bit over here. I'm going to turn to my brush in my radial tool and now just massage that off of her face. Let's keep her clear like that. And I think I'm just going to do one blob of warmth on her face just to add that in. I'm going to use my paintbrush. I'm just going to drop all the way down, just raise up slightly. There we go. And we are done. Let's have a look. We went from here to here. From here to here. So well done. This is a great beginning bracha, and I'm very, very excited to see how you progress with us. Please fill in the critique feedback form. It's really important for me to gauge exactly how to help you in the most efficient way and effective way as possible. And looking forward to seeing what you do for us next week. Okay, all the best.